You're listening to The Okanagan Reader, where we present readings of short stories and other works that have been released under a Creative Commons license by their creators. You are free to listen to and share these readings as set out in their version of the Creative Commons license. Today's reading is part 2 of The Invisible Empire, written by John Kessel and narrated by Jim Bowering. It's a short story in the collection The Baum Plan for Financial Independence. And now, The Invisible Empire, Part 2, by John Kessel. After we had returned from the church and had eaten our dinner, Robert changed out of his Sunday suit and went to work on the stair rail in the front hall. "It's Sunday," I said, wiping my hands, "the day of rest." "But we aren't the sort to regulate our lives by the Bible, are we?" He did not return my stare. "Would you have me be the kind of woman Jordan Hines prefers?" He shrugged the canvas strap from his shoulder and set down his long toolbox. "I don't look to Jordan Hines for guidance, but some things are wrong. Killing a man in cold blood is wrong. But killing a woman in hot passion is all right, and breaking her arm is not worth notice. Don't put words in my mouth. Henrietta Patterson is a mouse. She wouldn't take a step outside her kitchen without her husband's leave, more's the pity. Name a man in this town who has been killed. Susanna, can you blame me if I'm troubled? This cannot go much longer before you are found out. For every woman found out, 100 more will rise. Laura D. Fair was murdered by a mob in Seneca Falls 10 years ago. Did that stop anything?" He knelt beside the box and took up one of the balusters he had turned on the lathe that week. "I did not marry Laura D. Fair. At least I didn't think I was marrying her. I married for love and a family, not revenge and violence." I turned from him and went to the kitchen. He laid down the baluster and followed me. As I stood with my back to him, he touched my shoulder. "I didn't mean it that way," he said. "If we never have a child, I'll still have you. That's why I'm worried. I could not bear to lose you." I had not seen my woman's bleeding in more than a month, but I wouldn't get our hopes up only to suffer another loss. "I won't sit by and watch a woman like Henrietta Patterson pretend to be kicked by a mule when everyone in town knows it was her drunken husband." I turned from him and went to our room. "Susanna!" I closed the door and lay down on the bed, dry-eyed, heavy with fatigue. He did not follow. After a while I heard the sound of his boots in the hall and the snick of his folding rule. Our cat Dinah jumped onto the bed and curled up beside me. As the afternoon declined, I fell asleep. When I woke it was evening. I took off my dress and donned a pair of men's trousers and a man's shirt. Worn, sturdy boots, leather work gloves. I found Robert in the kitchen, the sleeves of his work shirt rolled to his elbows, eating bread and cheese. On the table lay the newspaper from the day before. Sisters of Fury executed. Presidential assassins hanged in Philadelphia. The drop falls at 3 minutes past 6 o'clock. President Hendricks declares justice done. Female protests quelled. Philadelphia, July 22. The last chapter of the conspiracy to assassinate the president is finished. Saturday, at 6 in the morning, the 12 women convicted of treason and murder in the assassination of President Cleveland were put to death. The execution of the sentence of the military commission duly approved by the president. The prisoners were hanged by the neck until dead in the courtyard of the federal penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The painful scene was unattended by either extraordinary accident or incident, and was conducted in the most solemn and quiet manner. Witnesses report that the last words of Helen Araminta Macready, leader of the hooded women who assaulted the president last May during the monthly tea held at the White House lawn, were "Death to all seducers." Robert looked up at me. His eyes slowly took in my clothing. "I am going out tonight," I told him. "Don't wait up for me." The six of us gathered at the barn at the Compton place at midnight. In the field remained only twisted, dry stalks of last year's corn. The burnt shell of the house stood stark in the moonlight, the chimney rising like a sentinel over ruin. Sifansaba crawled into the hearth and pulled our robes out of the chimney. She hurried back to the barn, her dark face gleaming, and handed around the robes and hoods. Lydia and Iris had brought the horses, and we mounted and rode east along the Maryville road. I am not the best rider. Lydia has been a horsewoman since her youth, but my skill exceeded that of the awkward Sarah and Llewellyn. Still, we had all made progress in the last year. The night air hung heavy, with not a breath of breeze. I felt the sweat gather at the back of my neck. Cicadas buzzed in the oaks along the road. The Patterson farm stood near the junction of Smokes Creek and Manahawk. 40 poorly tended acres of cleared forest planted to corn and beans. We tied the horses in the woods near the road and moved silently up to the ramshackle house. The back door was open. We crept through the kitchen, past the room where the boys slept, to their parents' room. Henrietta lay on her back, cradling the broken forearm against her breast, waiting for us, her eyes glinting in the dark. Sifansaba motioned to her to be quiet. Patterson stank of whiskey and snored loudly, lost to the world. We fell upon him, one woman to each arm and a pillow over his face. "No," Henrietta cried, "don't hurt him." But it was mostly show. "Magira," Lydia told Llewellyn, "hold her back." Llewellyn pulled Henrietta away from the bed. Patterson struggled, but in a moment we had him bound and gagged. Lydia lit a lamp. When he saw the hooded figures standing around the bed, his eyes went wide. We dragged him to his feet and pushed him into the yard. "No, please," Henrietta whimpered. The oldest boy, no more than 8 or 9, woke and ran after us. His mother had to hold him back, wrapping her good arm around him. He stood barefoot in the dirt, watching us with big eyes. His little brother came out and clutched his mother's nightgown. "Mama," he said. "Hush," his mother said, weeping. Sarah and Iris fetched the horses. Sifansaba knocked Patterson's feet out from under him, and the drunken man fell hard. He cursed through the gag, rolling in the dust as Lydia tied him by a long rope to the pommel of her saddle. We dragged him out to the bridge over the creek. There we stripped him naked and tied him to a bridge post. "His figure falls far short of the Greek ideal," Iris said slyly. "Be quiet, Tisiphone," Lydia commanded in a guttural voice. I do think that Lydia could find work as a medium, and it would not be a show, for I had seen enough of her to know that, when she spoke like this, she was indeed being moved by some spirit that was not quite herself. "Hiram Patterson," Lydia growled, "we are the ghosts of women dead at the hands of men. We are told you come of a good family. If that is so, it is time for you to get down on your knees in church next Sunday, confess your sins, and beg the forgiveness of your dear wife. You are marked. We will be watching. If you fail, rest assured that there is no place in Greene County that is beyond our reach." Lydia extended her arm, pointed a black-gloved finger at him. "You will not receive another warning. We will have good husbands, or we will have none." Then she turned to me. "Alecto," she said, "do your work." Sifansaba advanced with the torch. I took out the straight razor and unfolded the blade. When Patterson saw the torchlight gleam along it, he let out a muffled howl and lost control of his bladder. The urine splashed down the front of my robe. I slapped his face. Disgusted, I crouched before him. He writhed. "Keep still, or this will not go well for you," I said. His legs trembled, like those of a man palsied. When I touched the razor to his groin, he fainted. His body slumped, and he fell against the blade. Blood welled and ran down his leg. "I'm afraid I have nicked him," I said. "Finish quickly." He bled a deal, but the wound was far from mortal. I shaved his pubic hair and delicately cut a circle and dependent cross on his chest. I was withdrawing the bloody razor from my work when Llewellyn hissed, "Someone's coming." A half-dozen horses came galloping down the road. Sophonisba hurled the torch into the creek while the rest of us ran for our mounts. My horse shied from the flash of our robes, tossing his head and flipping the reins from my fingers. I stumbled forward and grasped them, then awkwardly pulled myself into the saddle. "Halt!" one of the men shouted. A gunshot cracked. Sarah's head snapped back, and she dropped like a stone from her horse. Her foot caught in the stirrup. The horse began to run, dragging her. Sophonisba pulled a pistol from beneath her robe and fired at the men. At the sound of the shot, her horse reared, almost throwing her. The men drew up and fired back. Llewellyn and Iris were already gone, and Sophonisba kicked her horse's flanks and surged away. I hesitated, thinking of Sarah, but Lydia grabbed my robe and tugged. "Ride!" she shouted, and we were off.